studies model of what a school-wide implementation of lesson study could look like. So because again, we're a bit short on time, I would just encourage you to take a look at that and see where we are. And Lindsay, that might add some information or ideas to what you were asking, and that is how can you take one lesson and make the depth of the lesson study ripple to other aspects of your teaching and to even colleagues. So I think the idea that comes away from that sheet is we hope that through going deeper in year 2, we come up with a template that could be used by others, and that our testimonials in favor of lesson study would be such that we could broach the ideas and get other colleagues here at Holland Meadows on board. The next set of colored papers is again something that in the interest of time I'm going to suggest that you take a look at that on your own. It's a reflection about what your own hopes and intentions are for yourself and for your students, and even for our school as we start to engage in lesson study for this year 2. And so I would commend that to you, and then perhaps you could take a look at it and bring it next time on the 19th when we meet. This hot pink sheet is the takeaways that we had from lesson study with grade 1 last year in 2012. And what the whole team said was, if we had just read the appendix in Peter Brunn's book, the Lesson Planning Handbook, if we'd only done that before we planned our lesson, then we thought our lesson might have been perhaps improved. So I'm going to ask that we take the time right now to read this appendix. For some of us it's a reread, but it will serve as our guiding points in terms of planning the math lesson today. So that's what we're going to do, is a little silent reading now.
Overrated. Yeah, this one people just want to shout out the answer. They turn everything else off. Oh, I know.
Well, I have a friend who got his big thing now, so I don't even kindergarten. And I'm like, prove it to me. So I told him to know. Show me, explain it to me. How do you know you learned it, please?
I'm excited about coming into one another's rooms and watching one another teach. See how you use the smartboard and the technology and the manipulatives and how you plan the activities, how the students are grouped, their social interactions.
Well, we're going to plan all that together, so that's what's exciting.
And we'd be coming into your room.
Where are you guys at? Where are you guys at in your pacing?
We're starting with 6.
When do you, about when?
Yeah, we were supposed to start it earlier this week. Some of us are a day or 2 behind.
Right, right.
So.
And then, but this.
Is the camera on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unit 6, like 1.3, basically.
I'm just looking ahead at, you know, like at what the lessons are.
Yeah, Kathy Bowman and I looked at the schedule, and so we're supposed to be around 1.7 this Thursday.
But when you look at the lesson, it doesn't look like it might be suited
It's a very, yeah.
Right, these
multi-
insert ones, 1.8 on story problems with missing parts and more story
No, no,
problems
no.
with missing
I-
parts.
I
Those
brought
might
the-
be interesting.
Those might be interesting. So, and I just pulled this out. What did I do with it? I had, I said 1.7. You went to 1.8. That's after 1.7.
Yes, it is.
Right. So, and I know that Heather Jung is usually right on time with the pacing, so we considered 1.6, which is a new game. And then again, you can look at the insert lessons, and I need to get copies of those to Todd and Heather, but I do have them.
Before we go into this, I would call your attention to, because,
have them in there?
because Kathy mentioned the importance of questions, the white sheets, what is going to be our research focus? We need to be thinking about that. Okay, so it's math, but what in math do we want to focus on? And these are examples of questions. And then the white sheets are the lesson planning outline, so you see the lesson step, teacher actions, intended student actions, difficulties students may have in this step, what will the teacher do if the difficulties arise or observed. So that's how we'll map out the lesson, even though we have the investigations model, we'll be considering each of those phases. Last year, when we did our observational data of the children, we simply were looking at, did the students' behaviors demonstrate that the intended learning outcome had occurred? Did student behaviors demonstrate that something other than learning wasn't happening? And all we did was keep a tally mark, a tick mark. And then we had another data collection instrument was, are the students engaged or disengaged? And again, all we did was keep tally marks of that. So that was a relatively harmless, easy, simple way of observing the students. This year, as part of cycle 2, I've given you on the orange sheet how we'll be doing our data collection, because I think that may impact or at least be needed to consider in alignment with how you plan your lesson. Because this time you're looking at who's talking and when. You turn the page, you're looking at what questions does the teacher ask and the time that the question was asked. And then in turn, over here, the time asked on Blackline Master 27, if you look over to Blackline Master 28, the people doing 27 should match with the person doing 28. You should both have the time asked register approximately the same time. And then the person doing BLM 28 records the student's response, while the person doing BLM 27 records the teacher's response. So that there should be some correlation.
And what is that time in there for, just to kind of see how the pacing of the lesson is?
Yes. And in fact, see, our whole focus this time, before, we're still looking, last time we looked almost, I would say, exclusively at the students. That was it. We wanted to, some of us, when we were doing the observation, may not even have been aware of what the teacher was doing or saying. This time, our awareness gets ramped up because we're going to be watching the teacher handle the lesson that has been written by all of us, but we're interested in what the teacher says, what time, how long did the speaker talk. So the person doing BLM 26 notes who talked, who began speaking, what time was it, and what was the duration of the talk.
Yeah, so that could be teacher or student.
Teacher or student.
Or multiple students.
Yeah, but over here on BLM 27, it's just the teacher, and over here on BLM 28, you're in tandem. If not, but you could, I tried, Kathy Bowman was very nice to allow me to come in last year and try these different things out before we tried anything. And I was things, it's very hard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, very hard. So that's where we are. And actually, by getting rid of some of these reflection time that have been written into the game plan by the Development Study Center, we are right on time to start reviewing our lesson plan. I had it clocked at 2:35 we began, and we're actually 2 minutes ahead of time. So it's a matter of, I photocopied all of these pages out of that section because I thought it might be important to know what happened before and what would come after.
Right, and I forgot about the insert lesson, so,
Oh.
and Lindsay, actually, we have the part that comes really immediately after. I think I told you 1.7.
Yeah.
Well, and that stops at 1.7, but then it picks up with 8, and then 1.8A, I believe.
1.8A and then 1.8A B.
And that's in-
1.8A and B,
Right.
two separate lessons, sorry.
Those are inserts from grade 2.
No, they're
No.
first grade.
This is all, you're thinking of fractions. That's not it.
So, I think we can do really any of those lessons from 1.5 up.
Right.
So, we certainly would like your suggestions and expertise.
So when I'm looking at the unit, you know, it's this is your third big number operations unit. So you've already done 2 units. This is now moving on, and the whole first investigation here, the whole first 7 lessons, and then there's 2 more inserts, there's a lot on combinations of 10. So, you know, they're doing all these different games that are, you know, 3 towers, make 10, 10s go fish, all these games. I don't know what that
That
means.
was my iPad.
Oh, I thought it was the camera, okay. So I'm not sure what that means. All these games that are about, you know, getting them familiar with combinations of 10. By the end of the year, this is something, like, we want first graders to be fluent with this. That, you know, if you have 3, you know what you need to combine with it to make 10. And then towards the end of it, it has games about missing parts. So that how many am I hiding? That's one of those missing parts games. And then these insert lessons are story problems about missing parts. So like if I think about how these lessons are written, you know, 1.7 is the end of this first investigation. It's going to be a workshop day where kids are doing all different ones. You know, if you're towards the end of this, I'm not sure how interesting it's going to be to look at kids if you have a lot of kids that are already pretty fluent with combinations of 10. The story problem ones would be something that I would say, regardless of what classroom it is, you know, whether you just did 1.2 or whether you did 1.7, that I think could fall in wherever, because they're not just about combinations of 10. You know, they're actually, I think, probably smaller than that. So they're missing parts. So, you know, I'm talking about, I know this whole quantity, and I know one part, I've got to figure out the missing part. And they're worded where, you know, like I've got 3 books about animals, and I've got 5 books all together, and some books are about biographies. How many biographies do I have? And so they might say the missing part is the second thing, or they might start off with the missing. You know, you've got some books about biographies, and you've got 3 books about animals, and you've got 5 books all together. How many books about biographies? I think there's a lot of meat in there. That is something that would be interesting.
So which section are you
So
suggesting?
you don't have that.
Oh, I don't have that.
Shall I go and make copies real quick?
So
No,
this
I-
is
I'll-
it right
I'll
here.
grab up.
So I can read like some of the stories. Kim used 3 beads to make a bracelet. 3 round beads. She also used some square beads. The bracelet has 7 beads in all. How many square beads did she use? And then, so that's kind of like this missing part is the second thing. So they start off by telling you she uses 3 round beads. She uses some square beads. She uses 7 beads altogether. You've got to figure out how many square beads. And then the next problem